Hi, I'm Jenny Miller of Let's Get Sewing. Are you ready to take the fear and frustration out of your sewing experience and finally get sewing? Then you're in the right place. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any of my tips and tutorials. And check out the caption too. There's a link to my website where you can find out more about my course, Conquer Your Sewing Machine, and future courses that I have coming. And now, let's get sewing. Today, I want to talk about taking care of one of the most important tools in our sewing room, and that is our iron. If you spend a little bit of extra money on a really good quality iron and then take really good care of it, it will last quite a while and you'll get your money's worth out of it over time. One of the first things and best things that you can do as far as caring for your iron is to only use distilled water in your iron. Water from the tap eventually over time will build up calcium and other deposits inside the iron that cause it to not function so well, plug holes, leave deposits and even stains on your fabric. So distilled water is a really good option or a really good kind of water to use in your iron. Another thing that you can do if you don't want to fill it with water at all is to keep a spray bottle on hand. And then you can just spritz down the fabric, run a dry iron over it, and that will give you the steam that you need to get wrinkles out of the fabric. But over time, no matter how careful you are, there's buildup that gets on the plate of the iron and other things that get inside the iron. And so I want to talk about how to clean both of those things to keep your iron functioning at its maximum capacity. So let's take a look at how we can clean the plate of our iron, and then another option your iron may or may not have for cleaning out the inside of the iron. Let's start by talking about some of this buildup that gets on the surface of the iron. It's really not, there's really nothing you can do to prevent it most of the time. It can come from putting on interfacings, it can come from the starches and finishes that are on the fabric. It can even come from fabric softeners that you used when you pre-washed your fabric. Sometimes you'll be ironing something and you didn't realize that the trim was a synthetic and it'll melt onto the surface of your iron. So there are lots of things that can get on the surface of your iron plate, and they just build up like that. And not only do they not look good, but you don't get as much heat coming through on those areas to do a really good job ironing. And you definitely don't want them to transfer onto what you're ironing. So let's talk about cleaning it. There are lots of different products that you can use to clean the surface of your iron. To be honest, I have used different ones and they have all done just fine. This happens to be the brand that we carry at the quilt shop where I work, so I grabbed a tube of that. It is by Dritz, but all the ones that I have ever used have been in a tube like this, and they're kind of a paste. And so let me show you how they work. I like to use an old towel. You can see that this one is stained and um, not one that I would want to use in my bathroom anymore, but it works great for cleaning your iron or the surface of your iron. So I usually fold it up to about this size. And then I take my iron cleaner, and it tells you on the back to squeeze about 2 inches onto a thickly folded cloth, which I have done with this. If your iron is super dirty, you might want to do a couple rows of a 2-inch bead, but I'll just do the 2 inches here. So I'm going to squeeze that out, get a nice size bead of the cleaner. And then my iron has been heating up. I am going to use my iron dry. I am not going to use steam for this, but I am just going to put it down onto that paste and start going. And I like to turn my iron around so that I'm getting all over the plate of that iron. And you'll see a lot of steam and stuff coming up. If the fumes bother you, go right ahead and do this outside. You could do it on your back patio or on a sidewalk or something, because this towel is going to protect whatever surface you're doing it on fairly well. So I'm doing this, just getting a good clean all over the surface of my iron. I'm going to focus a little bit on that one dark spot I had, and you can see here that I still have a little bit there, and there's still a lot of steam and smoke coming off of that. I'm going to put another, just a little bead of the cleaner on my towel, and now I'm just going to focus on that one spot that's not coming very clean. And I'm just going to really rub it in there and go over that spot and try to get that nice and clean. And it's coming. It may take one more little bead of the cleaner. I'm going to find a clean side of my towel now. Put one more little bead of cleaner there, and I'll show you this. You can see at that one side there's just a tiny bit left. So let's work on that spot a little bit more. Again, I'm not using any steam. All of the steam you see is coming from the product itself. And I still have one stubborn little spot. I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox, but I really want to get that scrubbed there. And that took the last of it off. So now the surface of my iron is clean and ready for use. The last thing I want to show you, you may have seen or noticed in the past that when you use the steam on your iron, you got little dots like this wherever the steam holes were on your iron. And that's because the water, here's some better example of it, the water inside your iron can get dirty after a while from sitting in there. And so your iron may or may not have this feature, but mine has this self-clean feature here where it's going to empty all of the steam out of the iron and really clean, use some pressure to clean that the steam holes and vents and the water out of the iron. So I like to use a towel again or a pressing cloth because it's really pushing that steam out of there. I don't want to get the marks on my ironing board, but I am just letting loose a ton of steam here to kind of clean everything out of my iron. And I like to do that from time to time just to be sure that everything is cleaned out of my iron. Of course, as I mentioned, using distilled water is always preferred because you get a lot less of the mineral buildup inside your iron, but this will get some of that out. And that has just cleaned some of the stuff out of the surface or out of the inside of my iron. I did notice that doing that, a little bit of the water has come out on the surface. I'm just going to wipe that off with the towel. And now my iron is clean and ready to go. I hope that these tips were helpful. I want to re-emphasize that it really doesn't matter which brand of iron surface cleaner you're using. I've used many different brands. I can't even remember all of them. They've all worked and all worked pretty much the same way. So give one a try, see if you like it. If it doesn't do the job, try another brand. But you saw that the Dritz that I used does work. There's another one that is a Magic Press brand that works well as well. So just keep that in mind and go ahead and give your iron a clean and see if it doesn't get functioning better. Then come back and let me know in the comments how that went. So thanks for joining me. Thank you for joining me today. My goal is to take the frustration out of your sewing experience, and so I hope my tips are helpful. Feel free to comment with any questions or ideas you may have. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Now, let's get sewing.